Hi, everybody. My name's Ashley. I'm the creator of MyoBloom. Thank you for joining me tonight for our fourth workshop of the Grow series. Tonight, we're going to do report templates and
Ashley,
photo
did
grids.
you start recording?
I did. I made it automatically record so that I don't keep forgetting.
Okay, okay. I didn't
Yep.
see it. Oh, you know what? It's on the very top of my screen. Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you for reminding me, though. That's what I need
Okay,
you for. Um,
go ahead.
okay, so tonight we're just gonna hop right in. I'm gonna go over some of the basics, but we're gonna come up here. I'm at canva.com. I'm signed into my account. I'm gonna come up here to the create button on the upper left. And tonight I'm gonna type in letters. And something I haven't said before when I've started a project is that one of the advantages to choosing the correct kind of project is that Canva will give you a whole bunch of design templates. So I'm going to type in letterhead actually and see what they've got. So they've got a landscape orientation. We're going to pick portrait. So we're going to start our new project and I'll show you what I mean about the design templates. Some of these are going to be only available for premium memberships, but there's a lot that are available to everybody. So that's what it pulls up first is this right here, upper left, it's design. And so these are a bunch of different letter templates that you could use. So if you see one that you think looks nice, that's as easy as it gets. You would just click it and it's going to show up on your project. If it has a crown here, that it means it's part of the pro plan. So yeah, you can sort through those. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go down to elements and I'm trying to create a basic letterhead. So I'm going to type in header footer and it's going to show us all the different options. Now, I really like to choose the ones on Canva that let you change multiple colors because some things, when you pull them in, there's not really room to edit them. And you'll see there's different options here. I'm going to click on See All for graphics. And there's various ones. You'll see some of them are pro, some are not. So lots of different kinds. And I want a blue one. I'm going to pull in this one. That's I think, yep. And so this is nice because it does have the three colors up here, which means that I can change this to whatever I'd like. So I am going to use this little rotate tool here, and I'm going to flip it from 0 degrees to 180. I want to flip it the other way. And then I'm going to tighten it up right here in the upper margin. And that's a little bit taller than I'd like it to be. So I'm using the arrows on my keyboard and I'm just moving it up a little bit. And then I'm going to come over. So uploads is where you're typically going to have your images, where your logos and stuff are. Earlier today, I organized them into files. So now they're in this projects tab. So if you ever use, folders, there's a way to do that. So you can kind of organize things. I had a little too much going on in my uploads folder. So this is going to bring up a logo. I apologize for it moving so slow tonight. And I'm going to use my Ithaca Myofunctional Therapy logo. And we're going to just pull this up right here, taking a minute to load. I'm going to use these pink lines to make sure it's centered. I'm going to squish it right up here. And now I think that these blues are a little too bright for the more grayish tone that this has. So I'm going to click on the colors and I'm going to change those up. And if you hover over the color, you've got this toggle settings icon, and you can click on that and you can change the color here. So one of the things that you can do that's pretty cool is that if you've brought in an image like my logo here, you can look here and it'll show you the color palette that goes with it. So you can also choose colors based on the ones that are already in there from your own logo. So that's pretty cool. Now I want to use the same image for my footer. So I'm going to click on duplicate, which is this double page with the plus here. And I'm going to bring this down here and I'm going to use the rotate tool again. And I'm going to flip it over to 0 degrees, nestle it down here in the bottom. And then it takes up a bit more space than I'd like. So again, I'm going to use the arrows on my keyboard and I'm going to scooch this down a bit. So you could go from here and you could continue to write your report right in Canva if you wanted to. I don't think it's probably like, I highly doubt that there's a HIPAA version of Canva that makes it encrypted. I also think that for like a document editor, it's easier to do it in something that is a document editor like Microsoft Word or Google Docs, which I'm going to show you how to use this in just a moment. But you certainly could still use this if you wanted to, just the way that it is. And I have used Canva to like write letters and do some stuff like that. But generally, when it's like a whole document that I'm writing out, I like to actually use one of those applications. So I'm familiar with both. I use Google Docs for MyoBloom and I use Microsoft for my myofunctional therapy practice. So I'm going to come up here to share and I'm going to download this image and I'm going to leave it as PNG and I'm just going to click download. And then first I'm going to hop right over to Google Docs, a new blank document. So it couldn't be easier than it is in Google Docs, which is why I love Google so much. They're always the easiest one, I think. Especially I'm using both of them, and so I feel like I can compare. I'm using them both actively. So I'm going to come up here to insert, and you're going to come right down here to watermark, and it's going to let you pull an image in. So I'm going to come over to select image. I'm going to browse the files on my own computer, and I have the design that we just made. I'm going to pull that in. And it automatically is going to give it a fade because that's what a watermark is. It's like, you know, when you go to get an image and it's made by Shutterstock and they put their logo all over it so that you can't use it without buying it. Watermarks are typically something that's faded, but you can uncheck the box over here and make it so that it's solid. And then don't ask me why. I'm not really sure why this is. I have played with this. The magic number here that makes it fit perfectly in the whole page is 131. Don't know what the science is around that, but that's the number. You can see the little blinking text line there. So you can type right in here and that just stays there like that. And so if you bring something like this in and you create a template like this, you could always just save this as your base. And, you know, you could call it your like letterhead template. And then every time you go to make a letter or a report or anything, you can just copy this into a new document and you'll always have this base there. So that's a really easy way to do that. I'm going to open up Word. So I'm going to open up the application on my computer. It does not work the same in the internet version. So you have to use the desktop version, which does sync with the internet version, but it has to be the actual app. So I'm going to double click on blank document. And here we're going to insert an image. So I'm going to come over to pictures from this device. I'll go back to my downloads and we'll pull that in. You're going to want to change some settings here. We're going to come up to position and we're going to go to more layout options and go to text wrapping. This tab is going to let you choose to put the image behind the text that you're putting into the Word document. So I'm going to click OK. And so I'm going to change this. So you have to manually change the height and width of this. We know that a page is 8.5 by 11 inches. So I'm going to change the height to 11 and it automatically puts the width to 8.5. If you ever forget that, if you come up here to layout, you click on size, it has all the different standard sizes and you'll see that a letter is 8.5 by 11. We'll come up to align and you're going to want to align center. And then you're going to align middle. So that's going to align it both top to bottom and left to right. And that's how you can put this into a Word document. And then same thing here. You see this little blinking text line. You can enter all your information in here. Same thing. You can title this, you know, that your letterhead template and you can use this. I'm going to hop back to Canva. And I know this is about designing things in Canva, but because I always share information with you guys in these workshops, just because I feel like it's a nice added bonus, I'm going to show you a couple formats that I have for reports. When I took my intro course, there really wasn't a report template that they gave out for everybody to use. They kind of talked about some different examples. And then I noticed when I got out into the world of people who had taken something outside of AOMT that a lot of people had this template that tended to be a provider-focused template. Like it really was explaining to the provider, like assess for this, like if they need a tongue tie release. And so in my experience, I don't have any providers that are even asking me for reports. I write them a letter telling them what's going on. Sometimes we'll send pictures, but I don't really send them reports. I did at the beginning. I don't think they even read them. Not none of mine, at least. So I decided to make one that was a little bit more patient friendly, that because they were the people that I was giving the report to. So I'm just gonna copy and paste my patient report in here. So this is one that I give patients. This is pretty like informal and basic. I ended up doing this grid here because I felt like either I needed to do two columns or I needed to do some kind of grid because I wasn't able to fit in all of the details that I wanted to. So I can show you guys real quick how to make a grid. If you go up to elements, these are all routine. These are the same as what you would use in like a Word document or a spreadsheet. So you can click on any one of these. And similarly to when you use it in a doc, you can right click and you can delete a column, you can delete a row. And so here we've got that 2x2 kind of like I have up here. And then you can just type right into it and you can put anything in that you want. So, you could type in symptoms. So I just wanted to show you guys one way that kind of like organize your reports. And then I'm going to duplicate this page as well. And I'm going to delete this. And then I'm going to also just put in here the provider version. And then I'm just going to share this link with you guys so that you have it. And this is what I would send if I was doing reports to a provider. This is the version that looks a little more similar to the ones that I had seen a lot of other courses include. So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to anyone with the link can view. And then I'm just going to pull this thing in on top because this tells you how to copy it in your own account. And while that's loading, I'm going to come over to chat. I'm going to put this in here. So there's the link for that. Another version that I want to show you is the assessment report card. You guys have heard me talk about this and how life-changing it is. All of you guys are in Success Society with me. So this is the assessment report. I know this one isn't really a letterhead template. You could certainly apply this to what we just made with all the pretty stuff. But this is the assessment report that I've been giving to patients. It's been going really well. I basically just set it up so that I could check things off. So this area with concerns, I check things off before they even show up that they have said there are an issue. And then I go back through and I check things off that I found, like there's tongue and lip ties. So there's a whole bunch of stuff on here. And then I've got this section with functional tests that we do and whether they pass or fail. And then some obvious facial observations. This is fairly new, so there's probably some updates that I could do to it, but oral structures, so I've got like the different measurements that I'm going to do, tongue tie grade, all of that. And then we hop down to the referrals that I recommend, whatever care they need to do, like before, during, or after. And then what we talk about with myofunctional therapy. So whether I'm recommending a program or mini myo, or if we need to wait, I always put in the fee, the approximate number of sessions, all that kind of information. And then I have them sign it. And then the thing, if you do use these that you don't want to forget, is to copy this or take a picture of it so that you have it for your records. I have already once sent somebody away with this. Luckily, they were somebody I kind of knew. And I was like, hey, can you send me a picture of that? I'm really loving this. So I'm going to show you real quick. I'm going to add another page and I'm just going to show you how I did this. We can add in a text box up here into the corner and we can call this our assessment report. We can add another text box up here, and this is where we can put in name, and I'm actually doing good old underscore to make these lines. And then we can do date. You can put whatever information you want to up here on the top line. And then if you want to separate out sections, if you go to elements, you can type in line. In shapes, it's going to give you some various basic lines. So like here, I separated out these different areas. And then for checkboxes, if you recall in the past, I have literally just go to Google and I say checkbox in text. There's one right there. I'm going to copy it. And you could certainly try to line up little images of checkboxes, but I think it's a lot easier to have them in text because they're always lined up and you don't even have to try. So, we could say patient has a tongue tie, and I'm going to use my paste feature again, put another checkbox and say that they're congested, et cetera, et cetera. So that's how I make those different sections with the text box there. And then I'm just going to stretch out this line. And you can kind of see how, this whole thing ends up forming. But if you just want to use mine, I'm going to copy and send this to you guys as well. So now we're going to move on to a new project. And instead of creating a new one, I'm actually going to come down here to this blank letterhead that we already made. And I'm going to click on the three dots, make a copy. It will prompt me to open it up here, or I could also click it right here where it shows up as the most recent project, either way. And now in here, we're going to make our photo grid out of what's called frames in Canva. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to title this photo grid template. And what we're going to do, we're going to come up to elements again, and we are just going to type in frame. Now, there's all different kinds of graphics and photos. What you want to use is the actual frames section of the elements, and we're going to click see all, and I'll show you how these elements work. So we're just going to bring in this square. You can either click it and it'll show up on the page, or you can drag it in if you have somewhere specific that you want it to go. So the way that frames work in Canva is that when you drag an image over it, it's going to land right inside the frame like that. Now I'm going to click undo. So what I want to do for this photo grid, I'm going to give these a border so that they stand out. And I'm going to click on border style. Right now it says none. And it's going to default to this plain line version, but we're just going to tell it how thick we want it to be. So I'm going to choose 2, which is still rather thin, but that just gives it a bit of a frame around the frame. So this is going to be our first box. And sometimes the first images that you take that you're going to put into a photo grid like this are going to be the ones of patients, their full body or their profile. So we're going to, instead of making this a square, we're going to make this a long rectangle. And now I'm going to click it and I'm going to choose to duplicate, and I'm going to line this up right next to it. And then I'm going to duplicate again. And it put right in there so that they all are the same distance away from each other. That's one of the nice things about Canva, is it kind of wants to line things up for you. And then we're going to duplicate all 3 of those and bring them down here. But maybe your other pictures in your grid are going to need to be square. So I'm going to change the shape and the size of these. And then I'm going to duplicate those 3 as well. Line them all up. And right now Canva is telling me that there's the same amount of distance between these as these. So, it just helps you keep everything nice and even. Obviously, this is a bit too big. You can select all 9 of them and you can shrink them down. It took the footer with it, so I'm going to put that here. Something else that you can do that's pretty cool is you can lock things into place. So if I don't want to move this anymore, I'm going to right click and I'm going to click lock. And then I'm going to choose the lock option. And now I can't move this unless I were to check the unlock. And we can do the same with these up here too if you don't want them to go anywhere. I'm going to click lock that way. So there's a couple different ways that you can do it. All right, so right now we have a 3x3. Normally people have more pictures than that, so I'm going to shrink them even more. And I'm going to duplicate just this row so that we can do 4 across. And then say we really want to do a lot. We want 16 pictures. We're going to duplicate this row too, and we're going to put this down here so that we have a 4x4 grid. And again, you can select them all so that you can alter them where they are. You can actually make them all a bit wider if you wanted to together. When they're all selected and you move them all, Canva's going to tell you when you're in the middle of the page. So as I scoot over here, it's going to tell me that I'm lined up in the center. So technically you could just use the photo grid like this. I ended up going a step beyond that when I created my photo grids, and I actually went into Paint and I created these black on white image here so that I could remind myself what I like to put into that spot. So let's open good old Paint application. And you can just quite literally type in text. So say that you want the profile picture. We're going to make this a bigger size. Move that to the center. And then we're going to save this. I'm going to title it profile. I'm going to save it into the downloads file. I'm going to click out. And then over here, we're going to upload files. And I'm going to pull that picture in. So that's exactly what I did with all of these down here that you see that I made in the past. And now that that's in here, I can bring it over here and I can put it right into that box. And you can change these images and their size by double clicking, and it's going to let you make it bigger. It's going to let you line it up in the center. You can have it look however you want it to. It's going to be the same with whatever image you put in as well. So if you have a general, like there are 16 photos and you know you get those photos on every single patient and you like them to be lined up the same way every time, you could make this a little more specific like that by giving each frame a title, basically. Another thing that you could do here is if you wanted things to be a bit tighter, you could scoot these boxes up. I'm just using the arrows on my keyboard again. You could also scoot these boxes over and really make the grid much tighter. This is, another example of how you can do that. Okay, so I'm going to shrink up my screen a little bit. I'm going to click out of this and we're going to move this out of the way so that you can see this a bit better. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Now I'm going to open up some images here. Okay. One way that you can drag these over here is you can just pick the image and drag it over onto your Canvas screen and drop it. And then you can move it right into the frame that you want it to be in. So we can bring over this one as well. And drop it right into that frame. And this is where it might be nice to have these labeled. You'll see again, I can double click this and I can make this a bit bigger if I want to really just focus on the mouth in this picture. We can replace this profile picture so you can change them. You can swap out images. So that's how we could use a photo grid in Canva. I will say that the thing that I don't love about doing this is that when you bring in images in this way, if you come over here to uploads, all of your patients' pictures are now here. I'm certain that's not HIPAA compliant. Also, you're going to need to go through and delete them. You could do it one by one, or you can click these little check boxes here, and then you can come down to the trash and delete them all. But it just gives you some extra steps. So while this is definitely one cool way to line things up compared to when I first tried to do this in Microsoft Word when I was first writing my reports and I was trying to size pictures and arrange them, and it really just was very difficult and it didn't look too good. There is an app that I really like to use called Collage Maker, and you can download this app. I'll put the link into the chat. You can click on Grid Collage, and here you can select images. It's only going to let you do a maximum of 10 images in a grid. I'm going to just pick one photo, and it's going to bring it right in. And it's going to let me select others as well, and I'm going to show you how you can select multiples. So I'm going to click Add Image. And now if I press down the Control button while I'm selecting these, it's going to let me select several. All right. It's going to give you different options on how the grid can be arranged. So select all of the images that you've pulled in. Here's some versions where you've got taller images. Those would be good for those tall, like full body or, profile pictures. So you'll see there's a bunch of different ways that it helps you line it up so that it's in a perfect square. And for these purposes, I'm just going to select 3 by 3. the images don't look super high quality on here, but when you save them, they do look good. So, I like to organize them a certain way so you can just literally drag and drop. You can zoom in on these. So I can put this one here and I can zoom in on this one here and zoom here and kind of line these up. That's how I usually do those three. Lots of different ways. And you can even play with some of the filters and settings too. Like if a picture is particularly dark, you can come over here to enhance and you can brighten it up a little bit and it's going to make the entire picture much brighter. You can change contrast and things like that. So there's various things that you can do here. And then when all said and done, you can click save. Going to let you give it a title. It's going to ask what folder, the dimensions, what type of file, PNG or JPG, and you're going to click Save Image. And now you have an image that you can pull right into your reports. I'm going to hop back over here to Word. So we've got this one open. I'm going to click Insert. We're going to choose a picture from this device. And then you open up the folder where the image is saved. And you're going to bring that picture right in here. And now you have it on your letter template. The free version is going to have Collage Maker written down here on the bottom. You could always go into Paint and you could just cut that out, or any, photo editing. You could even go into Paint and real quick just make a box over it and put your practice name in there. So there's one way that you can add a grid to your reports. All right. So that was it tonight. If you have any questions, please let me know. All right. So thank you so much for attending this workshop. Our next one is on social media calendars. We're going to be doing that next month in June. So what we'll do is we'll create an actual calendar within Canva where you can, plan out how you can do different kinds of social media posts. And then we're also going to talk about creating multiple social media posts that kind of align, they're very similar, that you can rotate through. We'll talk about reusing posts, which is okay to do, using other posts for inspiration. So it should be really helpful. I think sometimes social media can be a bit daunting and exhausting, really. It takes up a lot of time. So we're going to try to get our systems a little more streamlined with that. And then we also started the May cohort of the MyoBloom course last week. It went fabulously. It's an 8-week live course that includes our entire file collection of forms, letters, therapy materials, and more. So the course teaches how to apply the content and create your own practice or organize your own practice if you have one already existing. And we talk about more than just the content. We also go into branding and supplies, different kinds of programs, finances, networking, all kinds of good stuff. I also hope to see everybody at IAOM. MyoBloom is going to be there at the convention in September. We have a vendor table, so come visit us if you're going to be there. And I want to thank you guys for your time. I hope this was a helpful tutorial, and I look forward to seeing you guys all next month. Have a good night, guys.